Hello, and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Not everyone has the courage to stop and look honestly at something like this. Today, we are going to talk about a truth that many people are aware of, but very few are willing to admit. We are talking about marriages that have gone without physical intimacy, not the kind of absence that is temporary, but the kind that stretches on for months, for years, the kind where you can no longer even remember the last time it happened. Let me paint a picture for you. You are lying in bed at night. Your partner is right there beside you. The distance between the two of you is only a matter of inches, but it feels like an entire ocean. You stare up at the ceiling and ask yourself, what happened to us? There was no big blowout fight, no single obvious turning point, just a coldness that crept in slowly, like fog rolling in. And then one day you realize this home has been cold for a very long time. I understand that feeling. It doesn't resemble physical pain. It is quieter than that, more insidious. It is the pain of being turned away, over and over again, in a way that no one else can see. You reach out and touch him. He doesn't respond, or he pulls away, and you withdraw your hand, your heart sinking just a little. Then you begin to ask yourself the questions. Am I still attractive enough? Does he still love me? Or has he already found someone else? Those questions gnaw at you every single night, and nobody gives you an answer. But today, I will. Not with soft, comforting words, but with the truth, even if it stings a little. Because I believe you are strong enough to hear it. You are here. You are looking for answers. That tells me you have not given up, and I have the deepest respect for that. Before we go any further, I need to say something important. This content is not for everyone. If there is any violence in your relationship, please seek professional help immediately. If you are experiencing abuse of any kind, this is not what you need right now. This content is for ordinary marriages, for couples who love each other but have lost their connection, for people who want to find their way back to each other instead of walking away. If that sounds like you, stay with me. Let's begin. Part 1. He isn't checked out. He's trying to survive. I know that sounds strange, but this is something very few people will say directly to you. Your husband is not checked out on loving you. He doesn't hate you. He is not distant by nature. He is trying to survive inside this very home, and that survival is consuming every ounce of energy he has. To understand this, I want to share a scientific discovery with you. Dr. Stephen Porges, an American neuropsychologist, spent decades studying this very thing. He called it the polyvagal theory. It sounds complex, but the core idea is actually very simple. Our brains are constantly scanning the environment around us. They ask one single question, continuously, without pause. Is this place safe? If the answer is yes, the body relaxes. You can laugh. You can connect. You can love. But if the answer is no, everything shifts in an instant. The sympathetic nervous system fires up like an alarm. The body goes into fight or flight mode, and in that state, sexual desire is completely switched off. Why? Picture an antelope running from a lion. Is it going to stop and mate? Of course not. Its entire body is focused on one thing, staying alive. Your husband is in that same state, not because there is a lion in the room, but because every time he walks through the front door, something in him senses danger. And when the body is in survival mode, intimacy is the very last thing on its mind. Now you might be thinking, but I'm not doing anything dangerous. And I believe you. You are not doing it on purpose, but try to slow down and think about this carefully. He comes home after a long day of work. His shoulders are already heavy when he turns the key. All he needs is one thing, a place to breathe. Not praise, not a list of problems to solve. Just 15 minutes of quiet, 15 minutes to decompress, 15 minutes to simply be himself. But what actually happens? The door has barely opened and it begins. Honey, the electricity bill was really high this month. Honey, the kids refused to do their homework again today. Honey, the washing machine is broken. Can you take a look at it? And there he stands, shoes still on, bag still in hand, already absorbing a wave of pressure. His body scans the space and registers. Not safe. And his system begins to shut down from that very moment. Part 2. The invisible wall you may be building. there is something more painful I need to address. Sometimes it isn't just the stress of daily life. Sometimes you yourself are laying the bricks of that wall, one brick at a time, every day, and you don't even realize you're doing it. Think about the times you have used intimacy as leverage. You have to finish that tonight before I'll let you come close to me. Or the times you pulled away when he tried to get close. Not because you didn't want to, but because you were angry, because he hadn't done this yet, hadn't said that yet. And so you used physical intimacy as a bargaining chip. I am not judging you. I just need you to see what is actually happening here. When intimacy becomes a form of exchange, it dies. It is no longer a connection. It becomes a transaction. And no one likes to have their own needs used as bargaining material. He starts to recognize the pattern. He learns that reaching toward you usually leads to rejection. And nothing wounds a man more deeply than being turned away by his own wife. Because for him, physical closeness is not simply a bodily need. It is how he feels loved. It is how he knows he is still chosen. When you reject him again and again, he does not just feel physically turned away. He feels rejected as a person, as a husband, as a man, and so he retreats. Not because he no longer loves you, but because he is protecting himself. He disappears into his phone, into the television, into the garage. He goes quiet to avoid arguments. He agrees with everything, but is no longer truly present. His body is sitting there, but something essential has gone somewhere else entirely. And what about you? You look at him and see a stranger. You ask yourself, where did the man I fell in love with go? But the truth is, he is still there. He is simply hiding behind the armor he had to put on, so that he would stop getting hurt. This is the tragedy of emotional withdrawal. Both of you are in pain. Both of you are lonely. Both of you want the other, but no longer know how to reach them. Two people drowning in silence, right beside each other. Part 3. You have the power to change this now. I need you to hear something very important. I have been talking about things you may be doing that are contributing to the problem. But I am not saying any of this to make you feel bad about yourself. I am saying it because it means you have power. If your actions helped create this situation, then your actions can help resolve it. You are the architect of the emotional atmosphere in your home. You can build something new. And no, this does not mean you have to carry everything alone. It does not mean you have to take on all the responsibility. It does not mean he has no part to play. But someone has to take the first step. And in this video, I am talking to you because you are here. You are searching. And the person who searches is the person who is ready to change. Part 4. 5 steps to reopen the door. Let's get practical now. Not theory, not beautiful words that don't translate into action. Here are 5 specific steps you can start using today. The first step is to create what I call a safe zone. Try a small experiment this coming week. Every time he comes home, do not bring up a single problem in the first 15 minutes. No bills, no children, no household tasks. Just a genuine smile and a simple sentence. You're home. I'm so happy you're here. That's it. It may seem insignificant, but for his nervous system, it is enormous. It signals that this is a safe place. There are no traps here. This is where he is allowed to just be himself. And when his body finally relaxes, every door begins to open just a little. The second step is to practice the 6-second kiss. I know what you're thinking. Only 6 seconds? But give it a try. Not a rushed, obligatory peck. Not a quick brush on the cheek, but a real kiss that lasts a full 6 seconds. Research by Dr. John Gottman shows that 6 seconds is enough to activate oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the trust hormone. 6 seconds every morning before you leave for the day. 6 seconds every evening when he walks back in. You don't need to say a single word. The body will understand. The third step is to stop using intimacy as a tool. This is the hardest one, because it asks you to let go of something you may have been using for a long time. But I need you to hold on to this. Intimacy is not a reward. It is not a punishment. It is the space where two people find each other again after everything the world has thrown at them. When you offer closeness freely, without conditions, something remarkable happens. He feels desired. He feels like he matters. And a man who feels like he matters will give everything he has for the woman he loves. This is not a theory. This is simply how human beings work. The fourth step is to learn how to talk about your needs in a way that he can actually hear. Instead of saying, "You never touch me anymore," try something different. Say, "I've been feeling really lonely lately. I really need a long, tight hug from you. Would that be okay?" Can you hear the difference? The first sentence is an accusation. It immediately puts him on the defensive. The second sentence is an invitation. It makes him want to come closer. Speak from your own emotional experience when you express yourself. That is the difference between building a bridge and building a wall. The fifth step is to love yourself. And I do not say this as a cliche. I mean it with complete sincerity. A woman who is exhausted, who is insecure about herself, who no longer feels attractive, will find it very difficult to create genuine connection. Not because she isn't beautiful, but because the energy she radiates has shifted. Take care of your body, not to hold on to your husband, but because you deserve to be cared for. Read books, see your friends, pursue the things you love. When you are lit up from the inside, he will look at you and remember exactly why he chose you. Part 5. What I want you to carry with you, marriage, is not a game with a winner and a loser. If one person wins, both people lose. This is what I want you to hold on to. You and he are not enemies. You are allies who have been separated by misunderstanding, by exhaustion, and by the fear of being hurt again. The distance in your bedroom is not the cause of the problem. It is a symptom of lost safety, lost connection, and lost trust. And all of those things can be rebuilt. Not overnight, not through one grand conversation, but through small acts every single day, with patience. Show him that this home is a safe place. Show him that you choose him, not just that you need him. There is a profound difference between those two things. Needing someone means using them to fill a void. Choosing someone means saying, "Out of everyone in this world, I want to sit beside you." And if you can do that, even just a little, everything else will find its way home. The intimacy will return, not because you forced it, but because you created the soil where it can grow. Before I close, I want to say one last thing. The fact that you are watching this, that you are looking for answers, that you have not given up, that in itself is already an act of love. You are not perfect. He is not perfect either, but an imperfect love, tended to every single day, can still be something truly beautiful. If this video touched something in you, leave a single period in the comments below. Just one small dot, so I know you are there. And so you know that you are not alone on this journey. We will find our way back to the warmth together. Thank you so much for staying and listening today. Happiness is not a destination waiting at the end of a road. It is the way you look at the person beside you every single morning and choose them one more time. Be the one he wants to come home to. Because in the end, home is wherever someone is waiting for us. I'll see you in the next story.